Champions, what's good? It's your boy King Dav, and today I want to talk to you about the last AMA for Champions Ascension. This happened last Friday, March 11th, 2022. It's a few days after, today's Monday, but I figured I'd get this out so we can start this discussion. And I know a lot of people were not able to catch the AMA, and a lot of other people might not have the hour and a half to listen to the whole AMA. But if you do, or if you just want a second listen, I'm gonna link Bonzaga's recording. He got the whole AMA. He put it on his YouTube. I'm gonna link that recording to my good friend, the good homie Bonzaga's recording of the AMA. So take a listen. But for those of you that want the quick raw version, here we go. So, Chris Casa Messina, who is an executive at Jam City. Jam City is a AAA maker of the AAA game studio, the maker of Champions Ascension. Mr. Casa Messina came in. He was a featured guest. He really started off, I think they were making the point that while this is going to be a playable game very soon, they're building out a universe, a whole metaverse with, yeah, the player versus player fighting game, but also a whole metaverse just built around the Prime Eternals that will have other games, offshoots of them. He used the example of the card games. He used an example of the pets, where games, mini games can come out of that. Um, all of this to be built around the Prime Eternals. So that was very exciting. He said that there are ways that now I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but not really. There are ways that purity and divinity will show up in the actual fighting game. Where's this fighting game at? In the actual fighting game, purity and divinity will show up. It will be functional, but also in the wider universe, in the wider universe, even outside of this map, that there will be other mini games that are going to be built around the Prime Eternal, and purity and divinity can have, most likely will have, a function in the other games as well. Now, divinity, they made clear that divinity is not going to be passed down through breeding, but purity can be passed down through breeding. So that's something to keep in mind, right? So these divine characteristics, these divine parts here, when they have four, those we'll only see on this run of 7,622 primes, and will not ever see again. He was clear about that. I think I heard that a few times, but he made that very clear. Also, purity and divinity, like I was saying, will have function in the game, and in the near term will have function during the player versus player arena fighting game. So whether that means it will give you cause more pain, be a quicker part, make you dodge blows better or take blows better, or if it's just cosmetic or changes the look of a move that will look different if it was done by a death character versus an arcane character, or just a different move based on the actual part or divine part that it is. Right? He didn't get specific about that, but those questions in other forms were asked, but we didn't get anything concrete, except for there will be utility of divinity. And purity is like a force multiplier, like a booster. So if you use a pure part, there will be one sort of a force multiplier, maybe with the divine part. I'm not sure if they were clear about that. And also purity, if it's a game of chance, you will be more prolific, you will be more likely to succeed, is also what he said. Now we have to imagine that has to do with even breeding, and even breeding a higher level of a champion when the time comes, right? So if you have 4 and 4, are you going to breed a higher level of a champion? And what will your parts be, right? So it's a lot of those were not answered. I'd expect maybe to at least see those in the white paper, but I'm sure we'll see an announcement. So that's the purity and divinity. The fighting mechanics. He made a point to say that they are hiring a legend, somebody that they're working with as a legendary person, someone that made the fighting style. And Bonzaga, I will link Bonzaga's other video. He goes more into depth about this. But the fighting style of EA Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, I'll have to do my research on that or recall what that looked like. I have not done that yet. But some pretty good fighting style. It seemed that the crowd got hype when they heard that, right? This was the AMA chat. We were hype. All of this was good news. Also, he said that Mortal Kombat is a very big inspiration, even comparing Mortal Kombat finishing moves to some of the moves that different divinities will allow you to do. And then also brought up the idea of lending out your Prime Eternal, or when it's staked, others can play it. And it sounded like this was a few years down the road or long-term thinking, but others can play your Prime Eternal, and then you kind of benefit off of that in the sense that your Prime Eternal will get skins that can be either functional or non-functional. But he was using examples. He got, was inspired by Mortal Kombat and using other examples. All of the above to say that it sounds like iterations, right? They're going to constantly deliver gameplay and aspects of this game that will live in the universe, with the center of the universe and the characters and the main stars are the Prime Eternals. So just to pile it on right there, like the Prime Eternals are gods, right? Think about 7,622 when looked at how rare that would be if there were a million players. They use that example. And also, they will be the ones where, okay, getting into land, staking, and tokenomics. I knew there was a segue there. So the Prime Eternal holders will be the landowners, right? And so he was comparing the first part of the land with the downtown stadium. This is the center of the gaming universe, is the player versus player. And when it comes to the fighting mechanics, they want this to be so big that it will be, um, professional gaming, sports, e-gaming. God, I know we have a word for it, right? Um, it'll be something that maybe you wager, right? You can wage a bet on who wins. We've seen games like that. We've seen blockchain games where you can bet on the winner. And so a lot of things like that, and then you're gonna want to see two big bad fighters, one versus one, right? Yeah, it's got to be something worth seeing. It's the main event, it's the main draw. And the land that we will get when we stake our primes, we get the gems, the diamonds, the diamond hands to buy the land right around here. So you can imagine this being the stadium being Staples Center and the land around it being like downtown Los Angeles, right? It's prime real estate. And they made it a point to say that. So that's the land at stake. And tokenomics still being worked out. They're saying our boy Zero Cool is working hard on that. So I'll be happy to see it. Glad to see it when it comes out. They also mentioned partnerships and marketing. They said that they're only going to do partnerships that make sense. So I was super glad to hear that. They used an example that coming up soon, they hinted towards there's going to be like this nightclub or this super exclusive place where primes can hang out. In this case, I think only those div well, primes can get in, but if you're divinity, if you have a divinity part, a divine part, you can get into a special VIP door, things like that, so that we can start to get used to the special perks and utility that's going to come along with having some of these divine parts and even pure parts moving forward. Um, yeah, the esports. And the last thing, I think the last point, which was the first point that they made, that Chris Casamessina made, was that everything is going to be built around the lore and the narrative and the brand. So if you think of Star Wars or if you think of, Marvel Universe, You think of big universe like that, Lord of the Rings, epic tales like that, then you start to think about the scale of what he was describing, right? To build out something that goes deep, lore, and there was even a lot of fans. You know what? And I'm a shame on me. I have not had the time, but I have not even read any of those Medium articles. Maybe I'll start reading them to see how good this lore is. I'm a fan of story and narrative, and so everything will be built around this, which I think that's the key to any successful franchise. I mean, super successful franchise. So, all that to say, I was very happy about what I heard. I was bullish before the AMA. I'm bullish now, even more so. I'm looking to snipe some more primes, and sniping some more primes will be my next video. Okay, any questions, anything on this? Look, get at me. I'm here. I'm here all the time. King Dav, find me. I'm in the Discord. 100. Let's get hype. Champions. He even said it. Casa Messina even said it. We're going to the moon. We already have the Lambos. I'm gonna check y'all in a minute. Peace.